Hey friends, it's Kaz, and welcome to the post New Year's episode. And while I will be continuing this series after New Year's, and we'll get to all these signs and stuff behind me in those future episodes, I just wanted to show you the creeper farm that I built to get gunpowder for fireworks, along with some fireworks stuff and a nice little Happy New Year's from Kaz. So without further ado, I'm gonna head over to my creeper farm, and then I do have all the footage of me building it. And while this isn't a tutorial, I will explain why I built it the way I did so that you can make a creeper farm yourself, because the concept is actually very simple. The design itself is less important, and I will also link a design that my friend has used that worked in the past, and also the video that I used to learn these things that I did. And the first step is actually when I have it in an ocean, which is why I have this nether bridge over here, just because the nether travel is so much faster than in the overworld. So you'll probably want to scout around, find an ocean, set up a portal, and link it to your base. That is the farm up there. It's actually built just like a normal mob farm. Obviously, it's altered so that only creepers can spawn in it. And without further ado, I'll show you how it's made. So first things first, you're going to want to get your ocean portal, and you're going to want to build about 80 to 120 blocks up in the air. And the idea of that is just to make sure that mobs don't spawn anywhere below you in caves or anything like that will interfere with the farm. So the higher up, the less mobs are loaded down below, and the more efficient your creeper farm will be. But obviously past a certain point, that efficiency is kind of irrelevant. I built up, I think, like a little bit over 80 or 90 blocks to Y150, and that's where I built the base spawning platforms. And if you've ever built a normal mob farm, like the most basic design, it tends to be platforms on either side and water pushing them towards a hole in the middle. The water can be as thin as just one block. I tend to do 3 blocks wide for the water channels, just because that way I can make infinite water sources and I can just stay up there instead of having to constantly go back down to fill up my buckets or craft a bunch of buckets. And I did the water actual sources in the wall, because that way the spawning platforms are an odd number long. I think it's 7 in this case, because 8 blocks including the water sources, how far water flows. Obviously you can check my math by seeing if the water flows all the way into the hole. It shouldn't. It should flow right up to the edge, and the reason that the platforms are an odd number is because that way the wool carpets placed can look all pretty and be efficient, because you need to place wool in a way that prevents any areas of 2x2 blocks on the spawning platform from existing, because that way spiders will spawn, because spiders need a 2x2 area to spawn, and we don't want spiders in this farm because that would make it less efficient. The only other difference between this and a normal mob farm is that it's 2 blocks tall, and there's a ceiling. The ceiling is covered in trapdoors, and the reason for that is because the creeper hitbox is actually shorter than the hitbox of any other mob. So if you add that trapdoor, it cuts off where a zombie or a skeleton's head would be, and makes it so those mobs can't spawn. And with those 2 additions, the carpet preventing spiders from spawning, and the height preventing any other mob from spawning, that's actually it. That's all you need for a creeper farm. And the reason I chose this design over the design in the video I'm linking is because this design, I feel like you can layer it a lot easier. And this is also the design that I always use when I'm making normal mob farms. And besides that, honestly, there's not a lot that's different. The only other thing that you need to keep in mind is you need to build down 25 blocks or so, so that the creepers will die on impact. So the pit, the actual pit that they fall into, has to be 25 blocks tall. And the other thing is your AFK area has to be 28 blocks below where the creepers spawn. So the first lowest spawning platform, you have to build down 28 blocks. And honestly, that's about it. This is Kaz from editing. There are actually just a couple of things I forgot to mention. They're little tips for when you're actually building the spawner, if you are. One, you don't need to build up from the ocean floor when you're getting that initial little island for your nether portal and stuff. When you find a nice spot for your farm, you can just place a lily pad right on the surface and build off that, instead of having to build up from the ground. Another thing is you should place water coming down from up where your spawner is. That way, if you fall off while you're building, you can just swim back up instead of having to build up from the ground and then break all those blocks and have to deal with that. And then the third thing is, if like me, you either forgot the trapdoors or just didn't have enough, if you did use the nether travel like I recommended, you can just mine up like a half a crimson forest or whatever, which is what I did because there actually is plenty of wood in the nether. I got all the trapdoors I needed for both layers mining a crimson forest. Um, and honestly, that's it. So enjoy the rest of this video and enjoy the fireworks. This has been Kaz.